Okay. Going longer, longer. Some of you are already going long and you may want to go longer. I'm gonna focus this conversation on Ironman 70.3 and full Ironman distance. And so as we're going through the slides, you're going to see reference to that. But let's not forget about T100, which is making a big splash, big presence in British Columbia and Vancouver. So when you see me talking about 70.3, also think about T100 because they're very similar in distance. So when you're thinking about your journey, your pathway, um, first of all, what's your why? Are you ready? Same name, Ironman 70.3, different game. Um, Hall pass, please. We're not generic training robots. And then I might get a little techie with you, training 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And then we'll talk about the fourth event, nutrition. And then I'm going to enable you to go buy a bunch of cool stuff once you get the thumbs up from your significant other. And then we'll talk about first steps as well. So first off, second. Sorry, Tim, my presentation is, there we go. I'm not sure why I wasn't going forward. What's your why? Number one, it might be that it's exceptional. You're in an exclusive club. You're stepping out. You're going out and doing something that not everybody is willing to do. They might be able to do it, but you're in a small select group. That might be your why. Get out of your comfort zone. If it was easy, everyone would do it. So we're doing something that's not easy. It's a unique challenge and it requires life best fitness. Now, if you're a long time um, veteran athlete, there's still another level to get to. Positive lifestyle changes happen. So we talk about triathlon as a goal, a target, but we also talk about it as a lifestyle. And when you're thinking about nutrition, sleep, um, priorities, taking care of yourself, um, lifetime fitness, it's all lifestyle. Personal empowerment through achieving extraordinary goals, super empowering to get out and do something maybe that you didn't think was possible before. And of course, knowing what you had to do to get there. And that's 70.3 and Ironman, same name, different game. So we're talking, a lot of you know this knowledge, but 1.2 mile swim, 1.9 kilometer swim versus 2.4, 3.8K. Getting into the bike, 90K versus 180K. That's another world. 21K versus a full marathon off the bike. That's another world as well. Both awesome endurance challenges, but focusing on and emphasizing different energy systems. So before you decide you're going to take this journey, I'm going to ask you, are you ready? Number one, a couple of checklists. Have you completed a triathlon? I am amazed at the number of athletes who do an Ironman and have never actually done a triathlon. I think you should have at least completed a triathlon before you step up in distance. Can you challenge and push the Olympic or standard distance? And by that, I don't mean win. I don't mean um, do something superhuman, but are you confident enough at that distance that you can challenge the course and challenge yourself over the course? I think that's a good indicator that you're ready to step up. Have you done a 70.3? If so, then you may be ready to double down a little bit and figure out how to do a little stronger. I think it's a really good idea to do a 70.3 or T100 before tackling the full Ironman distance. It challenges your endurance and also some of the technical elements and nutrition elements and pacing elements too. Do you have expertise in swim, bike, or run? For instance, if you cannot swim at all, it may not be a good idea to sign up for Ironman quite yet. So do a little bit of an analysis, an honest analysis on yourself and figure out whether you are ready to step it up. Okay. Are you going to race to finish, challenge the course, or to complete? Okay, or compete. All great goals, but that's something that you want to ask yourself before you take this journey on. Why do you want to do it? And there is no one prototype skill set or body type or age. You go and spectate, and you will see everybody from teenager to super fit looking women and guys to just your regular um, people out there getting it done. You don't have to be superhuman to do it, that's for sure. Okay. I have big goals. This is the next step. Can I get a hall pass, please? Okay. So checking in with the important people in your life. You want buy-in from your life team, your support team. Share your passion and inspire those around you. That's important. It's sometimes you can get a little bit self-focused on this journey, and it's important to give back, whether it's your kids or your coworkers. Educate them about the journey and be honest about the cost. We're talking about family and significant others more in particular, or else maybe sharing that information with somebody else who's thinking about getting into the sport. Let them know there is a specific time frame for higher training commitment and focus. So you're giving them a heads up. It's not like all of a sudden you're disappearing on Saturdays all day and they didn't know it was coming. That's not going to be a good look for you. At home, you can think about regular things like chores, children, pets, agree to new routines. So work on it together with your family and your spouse, your significant other. Um, Work planning, training integration, holiday time. Those are all things to think about as well as you're setting yourself a course. For instance, don't sign up to do an Ironman on the same weekend that you have your most important conference or corporate meeting, or the week after. And last, ask for support. We all need help. There's gonna be some tough days out there, some challenging days. So ask for support. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You want to share that too. And I like to say, and put in your t-shirt order too, because there's nothing more fun than being at a long distance triathlon and seeing, team put your name here out cheering for you on the course. All right. Next, I am not a robot. So one plan doesn't fit all, one size doesn't fit all. You need to look at the individual. This is part of your uh, decision-making process and starting to gather information. So first of all, what's your health status, heart health, general health status, making sure that you're in a good place to undertake this. And if you're far away from a high level of fitness, it doesn't mean that you can't do something like this. It just means that you're going to want to have a longer runway to get there. What's your age and your training status? Age is important for the kind of program that you might end up with as far as level of intensity versus how much rest is needed and how long you've been doing it. Your sport or triathlon background, swim, bike, run, none. Again, I've had many athletes over the years who are absolutely novice in one, two, or all three, and they do train and they get to the finish line in a 70.3 or an Ironman, and some of them actually end up doing quite well, but it's all part of identifying what you need to focus on. Goals, do you want to finish it, challenge it, win it? All awesome, all legitimate. I never lose sight of what an incredible accomplishment it is when you are coaching on the sideline at an Ironman and you've been out there all day and you're seeing people just heading out to now go tackle a marathon. It's an awesome, awesome accomplishment to get to that finish line. Can your actions match your goals? Availability and motivation. Talking to an athlete coach, I've got 8 hours a week to train, but I want to win my age group in Kona at World Championships. Then we might have to have a little bit of a chat, a little bit of a reality check. So it's really looking at your life, your availability, how motivated you are to get out there day in and day out. And that is a big piece as far as establishing what your goals should look like and what's achievable. Looking at your facilities and your venues, local opportunities. If you live in downtown Vancouver and you've got access to Stanley Park, that's great. If you're needing to go out and do 5-hour rides, you would need to look maybe outside of the city. That's a lot of laps of Stanley Park. Local opportunities, access to lakes and pools and all of that. And then you want to look at the course and the climatic demands of your event. Once you are decided to do an event or you're thinking about choosing an event, if you are somebody who has lived at sea level your whole life and you're going to go race at 10,000 feet, or you're somebody who melts in the heat and you're looking at your first Ironman being in Malaysia, you might want to think twice about that. And last, we're thinking about background. I referred to it already. Timeline to your event. How much time do you have to get ready? And that all is relative to where you're at, where you're coming from right now. Training basics. Okay, so this is 101. You can go longer in a year or less. Okay. So here's I'm just going to give you some real general guidelines on endurance, duration of sessions that you should be able to do if you're working backwards 12 months from your event. So by the end of month one, kind of getting going, you should feel comfortable running 45 to 60 minutes, biking 90 minutes to 2 hours, and swimming 2 to 3K, and training 6 to 10 hours a week. That's a really good starting point. I'm going to guess that most people on this call are in that neighborhood. By month three, things get a little bit longer, 60 to 90 minutes. And this is the 70.3. So working 6 months out from a 70.3, 60, 90 minutes. By month three, you should be comfortable riding 2 to 3 hours and swimming still 2 to 3K. Training 7 to 12 hours a week. And then by month five, so a month out from perhaps your 70.3, comfortable running 90 minutes to 2 hours, biking 3 to 4 hours, and swimming 2 to 4K. Again, very general targets, but something to keep in the back of your mind. And then training volume somewhere between 8 and 15 hours a week. As we progress and thinking about moving past that first 70.3, getting into month seven, maybe you're a month past that 70.3. Again, very general targets. Feeling comfortable running in that 90 to 2 hours, bike 3 to 4 hours, swim 2 to 3K. Okay. So 8 to 12 hours. So still in that same kind of ballpark. It's kind of a rebuild after doing your race. Month nine, lifting a bit, 2 to 2.5 hours, bike 4 to 5 hours. So we're trying to get that volume up a little bit. Still swimming that 2 to 3.5K, training between 10 and 16 hours a week. So again, this is not life crippling. This is like realistic, but you need to know that you're going to need to have that kind of time. And then by the time you get to month 11, we're looking at 2.5 to 3.5 hours of running. And this is not every day or every week even, but you need to be comfortable with this distance. Bike 5.5 to 6.5 hours, and being able to swim 3 to 4.5K. And training hours, having availability to train within 12 to 20 hours. Again, that is relative to what your goals might be. If you're training to finish, you're training to be competitive, you want to challenge the distance. That's a very glossed over basic look. Let's kind of go next level. By the way, I meant to mention on the right-hand side here, there's a QR code and a URL. If you have specific questions about your journey, about this talk, about what it might take for you, feel free to scan or enter that URL. And there's just a landing page that's basically you can ask questions and have a coach get back to you. I'll get back to you personally. A lot of time to answer questions in this talk as well, but you'll see that a couple times throughout my presentation. Periodization, macro cycle. That's a fancy word for the big picture. When you think about Olympic athletes, they're usually on a 4-year quad, and that's a macro cycle. It's a 4-year plan. This is working backwards from your big event. So the macro cycle for you might be a 12 to 24 month plan. It's broken into 3 to 4 month blocks, and every block has a different meaning. Training has evolved over the years. So historically, it was you would build base, you would build a little bit more aerobic power, and you would build threshold, and then you would go and race. But if we break up the year into phases, all of us have our areas that we need to work on. I call these boost phases. So within your progression, picking blocks 3 to 4 months where you are focusing on your area for improvement. That's your low-hanging fruit for getting stronger and having more success over the distance. Okay. And a boost phase basically means that you are still doing swimming, biking, and running, but you're emphasizing your area of weakness. And then triathlon progression. So again, from endurance to aerobic power to threshold in 3 to 4 months. So as you're coming out of a boost phase and picking up an area that you need to work on, you're still paying attention to the progression of these energy systems. So to give you a little bit more information, we talked about endurance or the power threshold. A lot of us are familiar with training zones. Endurance is called zone 1 to 2. That means if I was asking you a question about where you grew up and who your high school teacher was, and we could have a conversation about it. When we get into what we call aerobic power or zone 3, if you're a very fit athlete, that's where you would actually race 70.3. A lot of us would race Ironman in zone 2, the lower end of zone 2. Some of us will race 70.3 in the higher end of zone 2. If we're doing a run in zone 3, I could ask you a question and you could give me a 1 to 2 sentence answer. So your respiratory rate is not extremely elevated, but you're working and having to focus. Threshold zone 4, that is getting close to the maximum heart rate that you could hold for about 45 minutes. If I ask you a question and you're running at threshold, you're probably giving me 1 or 2 words, maybe a short sentence answer, and then you probably don't want to have to answer any more questions after that. You'd be like, that's enough, coach. And if we get into what we call anaerobic capacity speed, that is above your lactic threshold. That's zone 5. And when you're in that energy system, you probably don't want to answer any questions whatsoever, maybe 1 word. Okay. So further on with periodization, we talked about macro cycles. I want to give you an idea about energy systems. These are all things that you consider as you're progressing towards your big race. So mesocycles and microcycles are fancy words to say the here and now. These are the shorter training blocks, the stepping stones. So a mesocycle might be a 2-month, 3-month block of time. A microcycle is your week. Okay. So these highlight your greatest training needs or focus within those blocks. And when you're thinking about putting together a microcycle, you're putting together your week. And I call it the domino effect. You're thinking about what affects what. So if I'm trying to become a better runner and I'm always consistently doing bike intervals in the morning before my key run workout in the afternoon, it's probably going to set me back a little bit. It's a domino effect. Okay, so you want to consider intensity, frequency, and duration. And if I'm confusing you right now, that's why I'm giving you an opportunity to ask questions later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a real good basic bird's eye view on how you might put together 3 weeks in a key build phase for an Ironman. Okay, and if you look at, for instance, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the first 2 weeks are build weeks. Week 3 is a recovery week. You can see that the swim gets distributed evenly throughout the week, 3 times, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So you're not overloading shoulders, and you're also focusing on a different energy system each day. So you're doing aerobic pace work and endurance. Okay, and then if you look at Tuesday and Thursday within the midweek, these are pretty achievable training targets. You might do your high intensity bike on the Tuesday. You're going to make sure that you have a nice easy recovery day on the legs on Wednesday, and then you might do your higher intensity workout on the run on Thursday. And then again, you've got an easier aerobic frequency workout for the legs on Friday. And then you're putting together an endurance weekend. And you can see I put them together quite differently. So the Saturday where it's indicated on the 19th in this case, you've got your really long run. And then the next day, not as long of a bike because you're feeling a little bit of fatigue coming out of that long run with a brick at Ironman pace. Okay, whereas the next weekend, we're going to emphasize the bike a little bit more. And you're going to see the really long ride there with the Ironman pace, and that's on the Saturday. So you're making sure that 1 week you're hitting the run, the next week you're hitting the bike, and then you're backing up what's probably going to be a pretty tired Sunday endurance run, not quite as long as the week before. And when you get into week 3, a recovery week, I'm going to remind you, sometimes it takes courage to recover when we're getting this mission and we think we're just going to train all the time. So when we train, we overload, and when we recover, that's when we get stronger. So by the end of week 3, that's when your fitness increases. It's not in the middle of week 2. So you can see Monday and Friday are days completely off, and then the midweek are just recovery and aerobic activities, and you've got less frequency and less endurance. And same thing with the following weekend. Again, a very basic way to put together a week, but when you think about the domino effect that I talked about, this gives you an idea of where you put what. All right, so now you're in there, you got a bit of a training plan, now you get to go shopping, okay? Just a real basic, you're thinking about going on this journey. A lot of you who've done shorter triathlons, you're going to have some of this stuff. A good wetsuit. Wetsuits do wear out. It's good to get a new one every 3 or 4 years. Or they get holes, but the neoprene gets stiffer. Comfortable tri kit. I mean, that sounds obvious, but if you're going to be sitting on your bike for 6 hours in that kit, you better make sure you like it. Make sure you have pockets because you're going to have to carry all kinds of things. Goggles, clear and tinted. Always have even your fresh favorite. Bike, get a bike fit. I can't, I'm always amazed how many people are just sort of winging it out there and, being comfortable and being in your aero bars for a long time. And definitely when you're doing these longer events, I realize it's money. 70.3, you can still get by with a road bike and clip-ons, but I'd say when you get up to that Ironman distance, it's good to get on a tri bike. It's a long time out there and it'll help you a lot. You have to figure out how you're going to carry your food in bottles, so bento box for your cages, or cages on the aero bars, aero bottles. Invest in good bike shorts. Invest in really good bike shorts, chamois cream, body glide Vaseline. Keep your bike well tuned and safe. You know, you ever go for a bike ride and your gears are like clunk, 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 and something's all right, and then you get home, you just put it in the garage and forget about it, and then you get back out the next time, you're like, oh yeah. So take care of that. I mean, your bike has to be kind of your partner in crime, your best friend out there. Race wheels and fancy helmets are optional, but fast and cool. Especially at wind tunnel shows that helmets, especially, save a lot of time, but they can also be hotter if they don't have vents. And then run, I like to say have 2 or 3 good pairs of training shoes and you rotate them, shock absorbing, some great high performance foam out there now in the shoes. If you find the shoe you love, stockpile because sometimes they come out with the same model next year, but it changes. So if you really love a pair of shoes, go buy a couple pairs, put them in the closet, find the right socks, buy more. You're going to need a fuel belt for those long sessions, those brick runs, something to carry nutrition, and again, race outfit, make sure it's well tested. And permission to also geek out. Technology is awesome. There's so much out there now that can help you and it can actually fast track your progress. There's learning involved, of course, with every new thing, but be an avid learner, keep an open mind. So you get smart trainers, probably the biggest breakthrough in training over the last 10 years for bike training for me, as far as athletes learning how to sustain power and progress. Power meters. If you've never ridden with a power meter on the road, it's like pretty much guaranteed your riding will improve in the first 3 months because you realize how much you're soft pedaling out there at times. Workout builders that build those structured workouts for your trainer. And then there's all those great platforms. We have Full Gas, Ruby, Trainer Road. Training Peaks has Training Peaks Virtual now. And then Strava, Training Peaks, and Garmin Connect. So all great ways to track your progress and help you break it down. They just keep getting more sophisticated, more AI involved. So I'm really like lean into those and get excited about one of your favorite parts of the day should be coming back from the workout and pulling up that file and seeing what happened out there. Treadmills with foot pods, just obvious, but again, those just keep getting more sophisticated as well. There's smart treadmills now, smart watches, GPS, smartphones. Form goggles or smart goggles, they can actually show you your pace in front of your lens while you're swimming and give you your splits as you go. That's a super good tool for learning how to pace. And then core temperature as well, the core products. It's not utilized yet as much as I think it should be, but it's actually pretty revolutionary. You can actually gauge your core temperature and when you get heat acclimated, it can be the same as going to altitude and having blood boost that way. It's also confusing, I know, but it's awesome and fun. All right, nutrition, the fourth event. This is life sport legend Brent McMahon during his Ironman winning days. New Planet fueling up. He was good at it. So fourth event. So fuel on a schedule, and these are things that I want you to practice on this journey. So fueling on a schedule, which means paying attention not only to the quantity but also the ingredients. So as an example, focusing on carbohydrates, 200 to 400 calories an hour, 50 to 100 grams of carbs per hour. You can train the gut to adapt and take in more. You're always going to run a deficit. So keep practicing with different products. Run typically is 2/3 of what you take on the bike. We run at a higher heart rate than we bike at. And the higher your heart rate gets, the harder it is to process calories. Fluids, so that is not just water, that's your carbo drink, water, all of it put together, 0.75 to 1.5 liters an hour. If you're a heavy sweater, like Brent is here, you can see his shirt looks a little bit wet, and you would lose a lot of fluid. Think Sasamat Lake on the floor underneath his trainer after he's finished an indoor workout. So those are good targets. Paying attention to your bottle and how much you consume. When I'm running our indoor practices online, I'm always reminding athletes to keep drinking. Sodium. So it's one thing to take that fluid in, but if you ever go to an Ironman, you'll often see people running and their stomach is quite distended. It means that the fluid is all sitting there in their stomach and it's not working its way into their bloodstream. Sodium is what helps to enable that. If you get low, it's called hyponatremia, which can be actually quite dangerous at the most extreme, but will definitely reduce your performance and perhaps lead to cramping. So I always say how much to take per liter versus per hour. So if it's a hot day, you're going to drink more water. And if it's a hot day, you're going to need more sodium. So 500 to 1,000 milligrams per liter. Read the labels. What kinds of sugars are in there? Is it fructose? Is it maltodextrin? Many products have mixed sugars. Learn your tolerance. Learn what works for you. So just be attentive. Know what's on course. Practice. Better yet, bring your own. You can be
He
as resourceful as
yeah,
possible.
he
And then, of course, post-workout, refueling, 30 minutes and 2 hours. So within 30 minutes of finishing, you want to focus on simple carbs. Your muscles are like they're like fuel tanks and they're like sponges after you train. So if you do a good job refueling after working out, you're going to cut your recovery in half, your recovery time in half, 24 hours versus 48. And 2 hours after, within 2 hours, you want to get in some complex carbs and some protein to help with muscle rebuilding. And I always put this down, eat more. We burn a lot and we are often running a deficit. So eat frequently throughout the day on a big training day, have your post fueling ready, and be smart about what you take before your practices as well. Make sure you can process it well. Okay, so what is next? Rehab, to avoid rehab. I like that moniker. So if you're thinking about getting going and leveling up a little bit, start with functional strength. That's body weight, multi-joint movements. It requires a lot of balance and dexterity. And then starting on a strength program as well. That's a really good place to start along with core strength. Okay. Next, build community. Don't go it alone. And building community means finding a mentor, finding training partners, on those, rainy April Vancouver days, BC days when it's a little tougher to get out the door. If you're meeting someone for that ride or for that run, it makes it a lot easier. But also you want to have somebody who's, maybe done a few races that you've done before and you can ask questions. If you're learning how to ride better, one of the best ways to learn to ride well is to ride behind somebody who's very experienced and copy what they do. When they shift a gear, you shift a gear. When they stand up, you stand up. And when they take a certain line through a corner, you follow that line. So build community, build camaraderie. Um, look up a, triathlon club. We have triathlon club with our company. Look up a triathlon club and have some fun. Find a qualified, experienced coach. And by that, I mean find somebody who has not only trained people for the distance that you want to do, but find somebody who has trained somebody with your specific set of skills or age or scenario as well too. So somebody has experience guiding someone like you to your goal. Pick the right event, considering cost and conditions. I talked a little bit about that earlier. Considering preparation opportunities. So, again, not having it line up with your busiest time of year at work or your most important family events or your child's graduation, whatever that may be. And then thinking realistically about timelines, the event. And then have a specific plan for your skills for race day. So as you're going down this pathway, as you're going down this journey, you're going to learn what you're good at. You're going to learn at what you need to work on, what you need to improve. And so when you're putting together your race plan, um, you're going to continue to improve and progress from race to race and as you get more experience, but making sure that you have a really smart pacing plan, power targets, and nutrition plan that suits your skills. Simulate as much as you can. So we training, try and figure out ways to do training courses or pick routes or training durations that simulate what you're going to be facing and challenged with on race day. Practice, practice, practice. That's it for my presentation as far as the going through this slideshow and sharing information. But as Tim mentioned, I'll be around here to answer some questions. And feel free to look us up on the left there as well if you have any questions that are specific to your journey.